3, 2, 1. Love Talk Radio.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas. And my guest today is John Milandred. He's the publisher of Pioneer Living Survival magazine. Hello, John. How are you?
Pretty good, Clayton, and it's good to be here.
Well, you're certainly welcome here. I've been talking about a project that I conceived back when I lived out in the middle of nowhere over in New Mexico, called Liberty Villages. But you have, and a lot of people have asked me, well, Clay, are you putting all this into practice? No, I'm living in a trailer in Tucson, can't move it with a Harley right now. But no, I haven't. But you have, and you publish a magazine called Pioneer Living Survival magazine. It's available on the internet, and it's linked with this interview. If people go to freeamerican.com and click on your name, they'll hear this show. If they click below, it takes them right to your website. And you have this to say about it. You say this is for people who want to get back to basics and work with others. The new pioneers, the homesteaders, survivalists, and preppers. The ones who will do more with less. The new pioneers of today. It's our goal at Pioneer Living to inform as many people with solutions as possible on the forgotten, lost art of basic human survival. John, this is the reason I came up with Liberty Villages. I said I've been reporting on the New World Order for the last 20 years. I've told my audience about the drug dealers in government. I think they have the title presidents, and but I was frustrated. There's nothing I can do about it. I mean, this is just the way things are, isn't it? But how did people live 100 years ago? How did people live 10,000 years ago? And I think you're really providing an answer for that.
Well, we try. We came up with it a couple of years back, and it just seems like everybody has forgotten. They're too reliant on technology. And to us, when you rely on technology and other people and basics, you're a slave. And so it's time to, start taking care of ourselves and start getting back to our ancestors and our grandparents and great-grandparents.
That's right. Your grandparents knew more than your father did, and less than his, probably.
Well, correct. Just like what they used before the refrigerator, and technology came about. And so we don't mind being the new pioneers, because if you have technology right now, of course, use it, but don't rely on it. Even the refrigerator, the power company, etc. And get back to the basics. Not only our great-grandparents and our ancestors, but the Indians, for instance, and the true pioneers of yesterday, and to be self-reliant and independent. And that's what it takes. Look at the starvation on this planet, and look how many people are on, for instance, food stamps. There's just a tremendous amount of people that are just too reliant on the system. And that system is so fragile that it could collapse at any time. And then what do they do? Walk into FEMA camps or something? I think our government and stuff has already proved their incompetency, for instance, with Katrina. And so you really can't rely on anyone other than yourself. And it's your responsibility to take care of yourself and your family, nobody else. And so that's why we came out with it, so that we could try to educate people and give them a head start, and basically reteach them what their parents have forgotten.
Everything's a double-edged sword, and technology is one of those things. Now, we could, in my plan for Liberty Villages, I called it, all the charm of the 19th century and all of the convenience of the 21st.
Exactly.
You mentioned Indians. Folks, we could buy 10 teepees for what you would pay for a trailer. We could put those up with solar, with you wrap black hose around the top, and you got pretty much hot water, all day long. And we've got solar. We've got a windmill. You put a windmill on that teepee. You put up 10 teepees, and you start growing a garden back here. You don't really need the government for nothing. And we can still use the communication devices of the 21st century. You can put up a satellite dish and hook up and have internet out in the middle of anywhere. And the Indians survived quite well here without it.
Yes. For a long time.
For a long time. What did we do? Did we adopt the wrong role model? Did we adopt the European city slave ghetto structure over here than the Indians being free? I mean, the Indians had a pretty good thing going, matter of fact.
Oh, they did, and they were reliant on anybody but themselves. And so, yeah, I think it all came over from the Europeans and stuff, and then everybody wants to have more comforts, and it just progressed and progressed and progressed until the point where they lost all the knowledge, and now they're dependent on such a fragile system. For instance, back in I think it was the 1857 or something, when we had a major solar flare and it knocked out all the telegraph wires and communication. Well, can you imagine if something like that happened today? It would be a minimum of 10 years before the power grid was back on. There's no cell phones, no refrigerators, no nothing. We just got thrown back into the Stone Age. And it could very well happen. And so you would have not only massive starvation, but just a total collapse. And that's, you can't save everybody, of course, but that's what we're trying to get across to people, is that there can be survivors. You can live comfortably. It's just on how you go about it, just like our ancestors, or, further back the Indians. And it's growing. It's a growing culture. It's becoming a new culture today. And people talk about, green living and green living, well, that's all fine, but we're talking the basics of survival, and the freedom that you can have when you're gardening and growing your own food, and then where that food comes from, and you're getting your own water, and you're creating your own like hot water, electricity, or anything. You're not dependent on the power grid or the power company.